Jai Shri Radhe, so Vaishnav ko Jai Shri Krishna. Varta 116, this is on day 138, the story of Janardan Das Ksatri from Agra. Bhav Prakash, he is a devotee of Rajasi disposition. In the eternal Leela, his name is Chapala, who manifests from Sri Vishakaji's Sakhi Soraseni and is thus a form of her divine loving sentiment. Janardan Das was born in Agra into a family of Chopara Kshatriyas. His father was a very nice man. He also very wealthy. Next door to that house lived some Vaishnavas, and from the young age of 5, Janardan Das would regularly go there. The Vaishnavas could see that he was a divine soul and feed him with Mahaprasad. They would tell him, "You are a divine soul and you will soon receive great blessings." This went on until Janardan Das was 18. Janardan Das then got married to a girl who was also a divine soul, and sometime later Janardan Das's parents died, and thereafter he spent most of his time with a local group of Vaishnavas listening to and participating in their divine discourses. Part 1. Once several Vaishnavas travelled to Gokul from Agra in order to see Sri Gosaiji. Janardan Das accompanied them. When Janardan Das had the sight of Sri Gosaiji, had the vision of him as the Supreme Lord, more beautiful than a million cupids, he immediately supplicated Sri Gosaiji to accept him as a disciple. Sri Gosaiji said, "I will surely initiate you with the Lord's name. Go back to bathe in Sri Yamunaji and then come back to me." Janardan Das prostrated before Sri Gosaiji and did as he had been told. When he came back, he again requested Sri Gosaiji to initiate him, which he did, and Janardan Das then went to have the holy sight of Sri Navneet Priyaji. Having completed the morning services, Sri Gosaiji came to sit in his Baitak. All the Vaishnavas, including Janardan Das, bowed before him. He said, "O Maharaj, please grace me by granting me the savour of your feet." Sri Gosaiji took him into his personal service. Janardan Das was most happy to serve Sri Gosaiji in this way, and Sri Gosaiji used to say, "This Janardan Das Chopra is a graced and staunch Vaishnava." Sometime later, Janardan Das requested Sri Gosaiji to give him a swarupa of Sri Thakurji for him to serve, and Sri Gosaiji most kindly gave him a swarupa of Sri Balmukundji, the form of Sri Krishna, as a child. He first bathed the deity in the 5 nexus and then taught Janardan Das all the ways of Seva. Janardan Das then returned to Agra, where he began to serve his Sri Thakurji, and later, when Sri Gosaiji visited Agra, he also initiated Janardan Das's wife. They both applied themselves very conscientiously to their Lord's Seva by offering him all sorts of delicious preparations and many varieties of cloth and jewellery. Many days passed in this way. Sri Thakurji became very attached to Janardan Das and could not abide being without him. He would ask of him whatever he required and chat with him too. If Janardan Das ever had to go anywhere for any purpose, then Sri Balmukunda ji would say to him, "O Janardan Das, please take me with you." Such was his love for Janardan Das. Janardan Das would say to Sri Balmukunda ji, "O my Lord of Lords, don't worry, I will return with great haste." When he returned, Sri Balmukundaji would say, "O Janardan Das, you are back." This loving relationship between the two of them lasted for as long as Janardan Das lived. Many, many days passed. Janardan Das's wife died, and so Janardan Das went back to living with Sri Gosaiji. Part 2. Janardan Das and Madhav Das Kapoor were friends. One day Madhav Das told Janardan Das that it was Sri Gosaji's wish that he remarry. Janardan Das said, "Listen, my brother, we are both servants of Sri Gosaiji. He knows both of us. If it were Sri Gosaji's wish for me to remarry, then he would tell me that directly and personally. So how can I remarry? It does not appear to be his wish. If it were, he would tell me. It does not take long to convey such a message." When Madhav Das heard this, he kept quiet. Janardan Das did not remarry. He continued to serve Sri Gosaiji for as long as he lived. In this way, he was a very special and close sevak of Sri Gosaiji, with whom Sri Gosaiji was always pleased. Bhav Prakash, the moral of this story is that Vaishnavas should never be attached to worldly life and values, but should always have love for the Lord and serve him well. Thus concludes Varta 116, the story of Janardan Das, who was the recipient of Sri Gosaiji's great grace and an accomplished Vaishnava. There is no end to his tale. So Vaishnavan ko Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Shri Krishna. Aaj ke Anand ki Jai ho.